Travis Harlow, Fire Chief of the Waterloo Fire Department. Today we have a great opportunity to come over and hang out with Jukes in the brewery side of their property here. We were contacted by Jukes about doing a special brew, and a portion of the proceeds would go to the Waterloo Fire Department. It was a great opportunity for us to get together and not only have them brew a beer and earmarked for the Waterloo Fire Department, but also be able to utilize some of them funds for our water rescue program.
I am Kyle Jukes. I operate the brewery side of things here at Jukes Ale Works. From the brewing of the beer to the packaging of the beer, all the way till it goes through the wall, through the taps, into your glass.
Oh, I got a beer. I was thirsty. Fresh.
Follow along as we go from grain to glass, brewing an American red ale in collaboration with Waterloo Fire and Rescue.
First step in the brewing process here, we are milling the grain, typically barley, rye, wheat, what have you, in order to crack it in half, so we can then send it up the auger into the mash tun where we mix it with hot water so we can turn the available starches into fermentable sugars. So all the water I use in my brewing process is completely stripped bare, run through a carbon filter, water softener, and a reverse osmosis filter. So I build my water profile based on the recipe that I'm trying to make. So today we're adding a little bit of gypsum, which is calcium sulfate, and calcium chloride. And that'll just give this beer kind of a more rounded taste, easier drinking experience, more true to style, I guess. That's my alarm. Telling me our mash is done. So this vessel is called the Grant. It's basically just a big sight glass so I can watch it as it clears up. So we're feeding in through one series of valves into another. Got level sensor low, level sensor high. That way it doesn't run the pump dry or overflow. So we'll find a happy medium here just by maneuvering this valve. And if you watch, it's now coming up through this pipe and through that sight glass. And if you come up here, we're just pumping the wort over top of the grain bed, and all that grain has settled out and created a kind of a compacted bed. And so this will just clarify it before we send it over to the boil kettle. It's gonna come from the hot liquor tank up through our piping here. And so now basically what I'm trying to do is keep the level of rinse water about 1 inch to 2 inches above the top of the grain bed. And we want to be going in at about a ½ gallon faster over here than we are collecting into the kettle, just so we don't dry out our grain bed. And this is just a means of grabbing all the sugar we can into the kettle. And this is all like dialed in volumes. That's why I've got the 2 flow meters. In go the hops. I already started the next timer.
So this is the mash tun, which is where we sent grain into earlier this morning. It's essentially just a big batch of oatmeal at this point. So we collected all of the runnings off of that and sent it into the big boil kettle over here where it'll run. So this at this point is just the end product. We use it, we send it to the farmer. Farmer comes and picks it up and feeds it to all of our farm animals, so it doesn't go to waste. So
this is a batch of pale ale that I brewed a few weeks ago. Yeah, about 2.5 weeks ago. So what I can do after the fermentation has completed, all the yeast will basically go dormant, drop out of suspension. That's why this tank is shaped like it is, because it'll actually cling onto these sides and go down to the bottom of the cone. and that yeast is still alive and able to be used for another fermentation. So we're gonna grab the yeast from this previous fermentation into that vessel, and that's the yeast that we'll use to pitch, it's called pitching yeast, into the batch of red ale that we're brewing today, and hopefully have live fermentation by tomorrow morning. So that's just gonna be beer and a little bit of hops that have settled out in the tank. And so this is called a block and bleed. That's why I've got a tea and a sight glass. So if I don't like what I see in here, I won't send it into the vessel. I'll actually bleed it off of that tea until I get good, healthy yeast. But that's good yeast there. So we'll start harvesting into the tank now. Boom. So we were pumping all that down the drain, and now we're going in, and you'll notice it's got air and liquid displacement here, bubbling. Yeah. Now we're making beer. It's just a nice amber red ale. Pretty soon here we'll pump the yeast in, we'll break this guy off, put the yeast up to that, and let the yeast pump in along with it.